You don't want to pull up that starting line and all of a sudden something's wrong with the truck. As soon as I landed in that thing, power steering belt just slung. I mean, everybody will probably argue with me when I say this, but I did a little bit of dirt bike racing, things like that. I actually grew up competing in water skiing, and then that evolved into wakeboarding. Back in like what, 95 when wakeboards came out, I started competing in wakeboarding. I went to the world finals and all kinds of stuff like that. Like I was probably in the top 10 in the country for wakeboarding for a couple years back in the day, you know, when I was younger. You know what they always say though, with age comes a cage. Well, the way that I kind of approached this whole thing was kind of by accident. I went out one day and decided I was going to, you know, build a little mega truck on my own. I did it in the backyard, and then the guys at Trucks Gone Wild convinced me to start coming out and doing these fun little races, and then it evolves from there, right? I'm like, well, I want to go a little faster, so we swap engines, right? Put a little bit more power in it. Well, I want to go a little faster than that now. Well, let's build a whole new chassis and set it up totally different, get it lower, you know, stuff like that. Well, now I want to go even faster. So let's build a whole new tubular chassis, a flat out race truck, fiberglass body, big motor, a lot of power, good suspension, 4-linked, all that, and go for it. And that's kind of how it evolved with me, you know what I mean? I never planned on just getting into it and doing this, you know? A lot of people are doing that now just because it's grown so much, you know? It's like, I guess if I had never seen the sport and I saw it, I'd be like, wow, how do I get into this, right? But a lot of guys that are doing it now will just find a used truck somebody's selling, and that's how they get into it, you know? So last year was the first year we ran that new chassis that we built for the whole year. And I can't complain, right? Because every race that we ran last year, I think I was in the top 3. Not a lot to complain about, but we did have a lot of engine problems. We couldn't get nitrous to work right. Like it needed more power. There was a few things we needed to tweak. Rear suspension wasn't necessarily as good as it should have been. You know, there was some things that went wrong with that we had to fix. You know, little things we had to tweak on it, right? But at the end of last year, we actually put a different motor in the truck and tried a whole different nitrous setup, and now the thing is ridiculous as far as power goes. Like, I've never actually been in a truck that handles how that truck handles now, because we fixed all the suspension stuff, and we put a motor in it that actually, when you hit the pedal, it just carries. It does not hesitate. And especially at wide open, because we've got a nitrous switch for a wide open throttle, right? When you're wide open and that nitrous is on, there's no stopping it, for sure. It is fast. Probably last year and many other years before, one of my favorite places to go, one of my favorite tracks to run on is Hog Waller, which is up in Palatka, Florida. The people there are great. The tracks they build are just awesome. They're usually a good mixture of sand, dirt, mud, everything, you know what I mean? And cool jumps, like a challenging track for the most part. So to me, I think the tracks they build there they're a driver's track. In a year, we'll probably race there 3 or 4 times. And I've been racing there for at least 10, 15 years. Probably one of our other favorite tracks too is Redneck Mud Park, which is down in Punta Gorda, Florida. It's a lot of fun. It's a big track, and they have this huge jump at the end usually. It's like a finish line jump, and I love that. Like, it used to be really big, but I think a lot of people got nervous about that, and a lot of trucks were breaking, and a lot of carnage. But man, if they build that thing back up, I'd hit it wide open. So I've been going to Dennis Anderson's, a guy that drives Gravedigger monster truck. He has a track up in North Carolina where he lives. One of probably the most ridiculous tracks every year, as far as he knows how to build it to where if you go too fast, something probably bad's gonna happen, but it's a driver's course, you know what I mean? You gotta know the balance. But the trucks have evolved so much now, it seems like no matter how you build a track, these trucks can handle it for the most part, as long as you're not too radical, you know? Yeah, mega trucks pretty much, they did. They started in Florida. Really, I mean, everybody will probably argue with me when I say this, but Chuck, one of our old buddies who started Chuck's Trucks back in the day, he was one of the first guys I ever knew that took an Isuzu Pup and put 2.5-ton axles under it and just started riding around on 44-inch boggers, and it was so cool. Then him and Matt Steele started this thing called Trucks Gone Wild. 8 Seconds was in downtown Orlando. It was a country bar, and we started doing tug-of-war events in the backyard of the country bar, you know, And that's kind of where Trucks Gone Wild all got started. And then they started doing these Spank the Monkey races is what they call them, out at Bithlow. And what they do is you get a couple two or three trucks on a team, and you go around the track, and there you got a monkey, you know, hanging from a pole, and you got to smack it when you go by, you know. And it was just like fun stuff like that, you know, and it kind of evolved, you know. I talk to all kinds of guys, you know, in the racing. We all kind of share thoughts and things like that, you know what I mean? And just talking about what this does to make your truck handle this way or that way or whatever, you know what I mean? And like if we're out walking the track before the race, we say, hey, what do you think of this jump? Is that a wide open jump, or do you think you got to you know, do a little checkup before you hit it, whatever, you know, like dirt bikes, things like that. Yeah. So I don't recall ever seeing anybody get so pumped up and fighting each other. You know, somebody might get upset about a judgment call by the track owner or whatever, as far as, well, you hit a cone and you know, I think I didn't hit a cone and I got DQ'd or whatever, something like that. But I never see two racers fighting it out. We're all good with each other. We all want to win. You know, as soon as we're behind the wheel of that truck, it's a whole different ballgame. But when we're, you know, at the track hanging out, we're all friends. And that's partly why I like it so much, you know. When you get behind that wheel of that truck, you know, and you hit the first jump wide open, whatever you're doing, it's like, holy cow, I wish I could do this all day, you know. Absolutely. So, I mean, if I was a kid trying to get into this and I had some, you know, a little bit of money laying around, or I knew how to build stuff, I would definitely recommend building a truck, making sure it's, you know, maybe get some guidance from somebody else that's in the industry that has a truck, as far as, you know, how do I build this cage so that it's not going to crush me or whatever, you know, taking into those safety considerations. You don't have to put anything crazy as far as motor goes in it. You know, you could take an LS motor and throw it in there and, you know, soup it up a little bit to start with, you know, just kind of, I mean, you don't have to just jump into the most powerful, best truck you've ever had, you know. If you don't have the resources, you just have a little bit of money, you want to throw something together, you can do it. Put an LS motor in it, you know, something less expensive, and go out there and start running and see how you do and how you like it, you know, and then evolve from there. That's what my recommendation, that's what Jimmy would say. Before any of these races that we go to, and including up till the race, there's a lot of things going through Jimmy's head, right? There's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of prep. I mean, like I was saying before, there's a million things we got to do to that truck to get it ready to get to that race. And then once you get there, you know, what if something's wrong? You know, you want to make people happy. You want to put on a good show for everybody that's there to watch the racing, and you want to do well. You don't want to pull up that starting line and all of a sudden something's wrong with the truck. You know, it's nerve-wracking at times, but when you do get up to that starting line and your finger's on that button, which is the trans brake button on Steamboat, everything goes away. Leading up to that, there's some things that I like, kind of my routine. I don't really share these things with people, but I'll go ahead and say it. I like to be in the truck and sitting for at least 5 to 10 minutes before I go out on the track, so I can just get everything situated, get my harness on, get everything where I want to be, and then just kind of relax and breathe for a few minutes before I get onto the track. Every time I've raced in the past and it's like, oh, you're up next, and I'm not even in the truck, it's like a big mad rush. I feel like I'm not ready. You know what I mean? Like mentally, maybe not even physically, because you're thrashing everything around. It takes a good 5 minutes, for me anyway, to get everything on and buckled in the way I want and everything situated. And I'll sit there and just kind of think and picture the track in my head. You know what I mean? That's what I do. Another thing is, I think I told you earlier, but a lot of the time I won't eat, like up until the race, you know? So after I'm done racing, then I'll go eat. But before that, I just don't want to have to worry about having to, you know, take a leak or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, and you're getting jostled around in there, you know what I mean, in that truck. So if you just ate a chicken chili cheese burrito or something, it might not feel good. So before this race, since this is the first race of the season up here in Georgia, it's the first premier Mega Truck Series race, we actually had the motor out, the transmission out. I changed the fuel cell, I changed shocks, we put new headers on. Like, we put a multitude of new things on this truck just for this season. And then, like I said, new tires also. So it all comes down to the last minute with me usually, you know. I had, 2-3 months to get this thing ready, and, you know, things were lining up a good month before, you know, making sure we got everything coming and, you know, all that. But then putting it all together and making it work, that's always comes down to the wire, you know. About Thursday, probably Wednesday or Thursday before the race on Saturday, everything was pretty much done. I just had a few things to batten up, changed the oil, then change like all the axle oil, you know, little maintenance things like that. Get the wheels back on, you know, polish up the wheels, make it look shiny, all that kind of stuff. We pull up to the starting line, and this racetrack is actually built for 2 trucks. So it's two tracks that are very much the same. So you go side by side, not side by side, but one's on one track, one is on the other at the same time. It's a totally heads up race. There's no timers, nothing. So whoever crosses that finish line first is the winner, no matter what. So, you know, we pull up to the line, get up on the trans brake. They have a yellow and green light. So once that light turns yellow, you get on the trans brake, get ready, and as soon as it turns green, you go. For some reason, I'm always very, very fast off the line usually. Like, I think so. A lot of people told me that. But anyway, I'm usually dead on green, you know what I mean? Maybe I was distracted, I don't know, just because of everything that was going on. I get out there, and I was probably a 2-second delay off the green light. And so he got probably 2 truck lengths on me off the start line. As soon as that happened, it was just game on. And by the time we got down through the first jump into this huge mud pit and around that other corner, I was already finally, you know, 4 or 5 truck lengths ahead of him. Super good pass. The truck was running perfect. The nitrous is, I mean, it's hitting like it's never hit before. So it just, the truck was skimming across the top of that nastiness, which if you don't have the power, it won't. We had multiple trucks in like the 1-ton class and all that get stuck in those mud pits, which is crazy. You never see race trucks get stuck. Crazy. Yeah, it was the first race out, and basically the first race is kind of a qualifying race, right? You go out there, and if you don't beat the guy on your first race, you can actually buy back in. You can pay $100, buy back in, and then you can still race, right? That second round is when it really counts, because once you lose, you're out. Because we got started so late on Saturday, by the time we got to the second round of trucks, it was gonna get dark. They didn't have lights, so they delayed the whole race until Sunday morning. We couldn't decide if we were gonna stay or not, because we had a lot going on. You know, I wanted to get back, get the truck ready, go to Texas, all that. But finally, I just said, okay, we're just gonna stay. We'll race in the morning and see what happens, because it felt good, everything felt good. I thought, you know, we're gonna take this thing. Get out there, first run. We get down go down to the first mud pit, and there's a big 90-degree corner. We come around that corner, and then there's another big mud pit that you jump into. As soon as I landed in that thing, power steering belt just slung. So I got through that mud pit, and then there's this zigzag, you know, kind of thing that you have to go through. Couldn't steer. So had to stop, pull off the track, so I was out. I was probably half a track ahead of him already. I tried to actually muscle the steering, because I probably still could have beat him without the steering, but if I could steer at all, I just couldn't. It wouldn't budge. Well, so we brought the truck back here, and immediately, obviously, cleaned it up, changed the oil, did a few things to it. Not major, but mainly just the cleaning, starting it back up, you know, changing the plugs, make sure it's running perfect still, because we didn't want to have the same problem we did when we got to Georgia. So we're going out to Texas first thing in the morning tomorrow. We're leaving about 5 a.m. A place called Rednecks with Paychecks. And this place is huge. They do all kinds of events. It's almost like a week-long thing, but we're just going to race. They do like that Barbie doll Jeep race, downhill racing, you know, that crazy stuff. They do like tug of wars. They do side-by-side stuff, big deep mud pit stuff. Like they do all kinds of events there, and then they have the racing on Saturday. I mean, they're gonna actually do side-by-side, 2 trucks at a time. They've never done it there. First time I've been to this place too. Never been to Texas to race. Pretty excited about it. The owner is a really cool guy. When I told him we were coming, he was pretty excited. You know, he's pumped up. I think we're all excited.